Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a good little request from a longtime viewer that sent me this article, wanted me to read it. This is another thing you can do. You don't always have to ask me a question. You can say, "Hey, Bull, come take a look at this article. Give me your take on this." That's exactly what he has offered here today. Aloha, Bull Muscle. I want you to read this article and give me your thoughts specifically as it pertains to your lifestyle and the concept of fire. So we're going to get into that. For those of you who don't know or are uninitiated, FIRE stands for financial independence slash retire early. The idea here is that you save a much larger percentage of your income and then you're able to retire earlier thanks to the magic of compound interest, which, as Albert Einstein once said, is the eighth wonder of the world. Okay, so it's from Financial Samurai. Financial Samurai, the poster child for what is called fat fire. So I'll go ahead and grab the board over here. We'll talk a little bit about this. So you've got three major types of, well, really, yeah. You've got, I'll say three major types of fire. So that's going to be financial independence, retire early. Now, retire early has a little bit of variation. For some people, this can be as low as 25, which is pretty crazy, but possible, or as high as 60, which for conventional standards is still earlier than the average person does retire. So, all right, your three major types are you've got lean fire, fat fire, and what I would call partial fire. So the idea is that lean fire is based on Lean fire is based on the amount of money you need. In other words, your spending going down. The idea is that you develop skills, you develop methods to reduce your expenses, and therefore you need less money invested and saved to retire. Fat fire is the idea that you play the capitalist game well enough to where you make enough passive income or just income in general to where you can retire on early on a lot more money. Really, to me, Fat Fire has always been more just the basic idea of being really rich. I don't really know what the difference between Fat Fire and really rich is. Because at that point, you're not working for money anymore. You're working for the love of the game. And then partial fire. I'm not really going to describe it any further here, but it's things like coast fire or barista fire, uh, items where you get a certain chunk of money saved or invested, and then you dial way back on the amount of work you do, letting that money compound over time. This is what I said with the Charlie Munger short a while ago. Like if you got 100,000 basically if you got $100,000 before the age of 30, your retirement at age 65 is basically set, and you can do whatever you want provided that your expenses match your income between age whenever you reach that threshold and your conventional 65 era retirement. So we're going to talk about fat fire for this video because that is what Mr. Dogen here is referring to. He is a big fan of the mantra of raising your income and skills to be in the top fraction of a percent of people. The trouble with this is, for most people, this is a much more difficult path than reducing your expenses. Reducing your expenses is very easy and most people can control that. Increasing your income is a lot harder because a lot of other people are also trying to do that. Everybody's trying to get rich, right? That's just, how the adage goes. So, he's talking about the cost of supercommuting, way more than just gas money. Typical supercommuter spends 90 minutes or more one-way commuting to work or school. Yeah, supercommuting is dumb. We've talked about the true cost of commuting on this channel before. It is immensely higher than just the cost of fuel or electricity if you own an electric car. It is the value of your time plus all the other issues that come up with commuting, especially by car: insurance, maintenance, depreciation, blah, blah, blah. Supercommuting He's talking about it's growing in popularity. An estimated 5 million people are now supercommuters, up from 3.5 in 2012. That's mental to me. That's over 1% of the population spends more than 90 minutes or more one way commuting to work. Now, I did this for a couple of months before I was able to move into my new place, my first job in Greenville, Texas. And it was miserable. I did it because I didn't have another place to stay that was close nearby. And I had free rent actually for a little while because I was living with my girlfriend and I offered to pay and they refused to take it. But that's a different story. I hate long commutes, taking the bus, driving to work. One of my top three annoyances while I was employed. I think 95% of people would agree with that. I don't know who likes commuting, honestly. Um, I guess the one exception for that would be my current commute, where I can ride my bicycle to work. I do enjoy that. When I retired in 2012, one of the greatest joys of never having to commute again. Yeah, getting back time, energy, and mental clarity was truly enhancing mental benefit of retirement. And then the pandemic hit. We all got to experience the same freedom. Yeah, any wonder why it's been so hard to convince workers to go back to the office? Because it's fucking stupid. The fact that the economy didn't shut down, large parts of it were just fine during the pandemic is proof of that. Return to office is one of the stupidest mandates a company can put on its employers. It's going to screw you out of potential high end talent. Telework is going to allow you to cut costs in terms of office space. Telework on top of that is going to allow you to cut costs in terms of middle management, who, as it turns out, didn't really do anything. And then on top of that, telework is also going to make it easier for us to fund our roads because they get used a lot less, which means we have to repair them a lot less. Teleworking, and then let's not even talk about the environmental benefits, which I get under the current administration don't matter. But you know what? Climate change is still real, no matter if a Republican or a Democrat is in office. Different conversation. This post I want to highlight the hidden toll of supercommuting to work or school. Sure, you'll spend more on gas if you drive. It's just the beginning. So before you buy a more affordable home in exchange for a longer commute, be forewarned the trade-offs may not be worth it. Okay. Yes. First off, do a basic calculation of CapEx. I'm not going to go into the details of that here. That could be for a different video of the value of your time versus the savings from living further away from work. In a lot of cities, you can be very close to your job and have a lower cost of living house. You just have to be willing to go with an area that isn't as nice or isn't as, in a lot of cases, rich and white. Deal with it. It's not the end of the world. Or you might have to have a smaller house than you might like. Fucking the kids will learn. They'll live with it, right? The average household size was twice what it is now in 1955. The average household size was twice as large, and the average house size was half as large. We managed just fine in the 50s. After deciding not to pony up a small fortune for a vacation rental in Honolulu, oh, you're one of those people. I knew you were in San Francisco, but oh, that tracks. I opted for my family of four to stay with my parents for up to 5 weeks. Okay, that seems reasonable. If your parents live in Honolulu, yeah, why not? Let the kids spend time with grandma and grandpa. They have three free bedrooms in their five-bedroom house. Good Lord. So you came from money. You've got inherited wealth. If your parents have a five-bedroom house in Hawaii, I mean, good Lord. It's a home I've returned to for 39 years. Feels comfortable to me, but not to all. Some of you thought this was a good way to save money. Well, it is. Others, mostly women, said it was cruel to subject my wife to such confinement for so long. I get it. Staying with your in laws for more than a few days is a lot to ask, especially without ensuite bathrooms. Oh my God. This is, yeah, you can tell this was written by a rich person. Oh, the bathrooms must be en suite. I couldn't possibly share with people who are related to the love of my life. Jesus Christ. Or separate kitchens or entrances. And not everybody likes to be in Hawaii during the summer heat. What the fuck are you talking about? Okay, so as I'm releasing this, it is July 22nd. So the hot season, if you want to call it that here. And the high today was 88. Then the high tomorrow will be 88. And the high Thursday will, oh, it might hit 90. Oh God. Oh no. The ocean breezes only keep it warm instead of cool. Fuck out of here with that. Go to any southern state, hell, even most Midwestern states, and the heat in the summer is worse than Hawaii. Can you tell this asshole is from San Francisco yet? Still, the cheapest suitable three-bedroom rental I could find cost, I'm sorry, $16,000 after taxes and fees for 5 weeks. Words fail me here. A nothing fancy four-bedroom rental. I'm sorry, nothing fancy four-bedroom rental without a pool. Oh my God. My brother in Christ, you live in Hawaii. What do you need a pool for? You have the beach. Go to the fucking beach like a normal person. Which we liked was $24,000 for 5 months. Okay, this is why. Right, I am no pinko. I am no socialist, communist, Marxist, leftist. But rich assholes like this do make me sympathize with their point of view from an emotional standpoint. After owning real estate since 2003, I just can't bring myself to spend that much on a temporary stay that builds no equity because your standards are ridiculous, sir. To find a compromise, we stayed at our aunt and uncle's place on the North Shore. Oh no. You are commuting from the North Shore into town, you fucking dunce. Why would you do that? If you're gonna do that, at least for the love of God, tell me you use the bus. After 1.5 hours away, after 3 or 13 days, my parents see my wife mom break for 9 days. Give me a break too, so I could return to living without worry, without doing things the way that agitate my mom, i.e., cut fruit on the right side of the sink instead of the left. Yeah, that's some other stuff right there. They have their kitchen the way they want it. They don't want you to do it any other way than their way. And when it's your mama's kitchen, you play by her rules. Cut fruit on the correct side of the sink, sir. It's her house, it's her rules. If you don't like it, fuck off. Kids were happy, so everyone won, except for me, who had to drive 2.5 more hours a day for 5 days. It totally stayed on the North Shore for 9 months. Let's see, so we're on the North Shore. Oh, dear God. Okay, so I was thinking, all right, bro was probably going to be at Haleiwa or Waialua, you know, somewhere where it'll be a pain to get into town, but some people do it. No, this fucker was in Laie. Oh my God. Apart from Kahuku, you really could not have picked a further place away from Honolulu. Oh, Lord. You stayed on the North Shore for 9 nights at Auntie and Uncle's house. So you picked up your kids at 4:55 p.m. Friday from summer school at Punahou. Of course! Of course this motherfucker went to Punahou. Ah. Yep, yep. You are the mm, okay. I'm not local, right? I don't want to pretend I am, but spend any amount of time living on Oahu, and you learn very quickly that people are super about high schools here because there's really only one major university, right? UH Manoa. You don't. It's where you went to high school says a ton. For instance, a lot of people, right? If you went to Waianae High School, it means you probably have a much higher percentage of knowing how to fight and probably winning that fight. All I'm gonna say is Max Holloway. I need no further uh I need no further things to say about that one. Dude was born and raised Y and on Saturday he kicked the crap out of Dustin Poirier. So just saying. Uh as an example, if you went to Radford High School, it means your parents were probably they were probably in the military or some sort of military related job. If you went to um Punahou though, Punahou was the rich kids private school that Obama went to when he was here. And I'm not going to speculate as to why he got into Punahou. I'm just going to let you draw your own conclusions on that one. But uh the stereotype of the Punahou kids is very much that they're the really rich kids, but they're not just the rich kids because they're rich kids that go to Iolani or Kamehameha schools or any of the other private schools. But the Punahou kids are The kids of the rich families that have connections to get into Punahou is a major pain in the ass, and it takes a lot of wheeling and dealing, is what I've learned. So of course, Sam. Of course, Mr. Samurai. You couldn't possibly give your kids, a normal summer experience. You had to send them to Punahou for summer school. Ugh. This is Mr. Money Mustache a long time ago wrote an article about Ivy League preschool syndrome. I'm gonna go ahead. Maybe I'll link it in the description here, but that's a really good article. If you are one of these people that demands your child go to private school, no, he or she doesn't. What is far more important is that you take time to spend with them. Money can't buy your kids being raised correctly. Kids require time. More than any other factor, your children require your time. And if you're not willing to give them time, you should reconsider whether or not you actually want children. Okay? Seriously. And how do I know this? I know this from a personal fucking standpoint. I went to three different high schools of varying quality. One was a blue ribbon school and was really, really good academically. One was all right academically, and one was below average academically. It's funny. I thrived in all three. I did well, and I had as just as good an education in one as I had in the other. What mattered was that my parents made me take advanced classes and made me get good grades, or else I'd get home and I'd get a by this point, by the time high school rolled around, I wasn't getting dirty lickings anymore, but I would definitely get fair amount of there'd be verbal hell to pay, I'll put it that way. And probably a lot of restrictions on what I could and couldn't do. My ass wasn't coming home with C's, I'll put it that way. The point here is that the school you send your kids to really doesn't matter. You can get a good high school education at any high school as long as your parents are focused on making sure you actually sit the fuck down and study and try to learn something. The truth is, really, most high schools are holding centers for teenagers because society doesn't really have a better option to teach them at this point. But that's a whole nother rant. Anyway, had we been commuting from my parents' house just 8 to 10 minutes a day, I would have just kept driving, having to manage bodily functions mid-ride, or your kid had to pee. Okay, yeah. I mean, going from Punahou to Laie, yeah, you're gonna have to have a bathroom break most of the time. Tired, have the freedom of having our own space again. Your parents have a house in town. Your auntie and uncle have a house in Laie, and because you couldn't spend more than a couple weeks at a time with your own parents, and your wife couldn't spend it with your in-laws, you are willing to subject yourself to a 90-minute commute. Fucking madman. After a fun weekend filled with Pokemon Go Fest, Giovanni's. You went to Giovanni's. Bro, come on. You said you're from here. Your family's from here, and you went to Giovanni's in Kahuku? What are you doing? You should know better. And beach walks. Reality return Monday morning. I mean, okay, look, Giovanni's isn't bad, but everybody kind of here knows that's where you send the tourists. I guess you because this guy Sam, I think, was born and raised, or at least his family's on Oahu. And then he moved to San Francisco. Good Lord. Woke up at 2:45 a.m. to get a head start on publishing a new post, responding to comments, and going for a walk on the beach. Good for you. You passed out by 10 p.m., so you got 4.5 hours of sleep. Why would anybody listen to this man about anything? 4.5 hours of sleep is scientifically proven to damage your critical thinking skills, to damage your long term health, and to drastically increase your likelihood of getting Alzheimer's at an early age. Don't get less than 6 hours of sleep a night. This is insane. Kids woke up at 6:30, left by 6:45 to make it to school by 8. Back in Honolulu, we usually leave at 7:40. The earlier start was uncomfortable for my wife and daughter, who aren't morning people. I guess the thought never crossed your mind to let your kids get on a bus, which is totally okay to do, by the way. Speaking of things I hate about American parenting, the idea that children can't just ride public transit to get places they want to go. That's very common in countries like Japan, and it should be common here. And you say, oh, what about the safety? In Oahu, at least, the buses are extraordinarily safe. There are usually a lot of cameras on board all of them, and there's no reason you can't put your keiki on a bus. So, really, what that would be here is, ew, poor people are on the bus. I guarantee you that's what you would say. Ew, poor people. No, fuck off it. Anyway, but if you're going all the way from yeah, you probably got to drive a car because the buses would take forever to get from that part of the island to the town. Let's see. I made a mistake. Okay, yeah, you wound up late because you took a wrong turn at. You went Like instead of H3. That might have been why. Anyway, place to hang out. So you spent all day in town. He's talking about you spent all day in town swung by Whole Foods for groceries because of course, this fucker goes to Whole Foods. Oh, he's one of these people. Bro, okay. If you're gonna go, you're in Hawaii for God's sake. You're gonna go and spend buku bucks on fancy foofy groceries, at least buy the local stuff at Foodland. That's just as good, and you're not importing it from God knows where, on an express flight or express shipping because it's organic. Madre de Dios. So spent his he spent his day in the city, got groceries from Whole Foods, and then another day of super commuting. Let's see, 30 minutes, a handyman arrived at parents' house. So I have five managing workers to fix up our long neglected in-law unit. He's just bitching. He's bitching about the house he's getting to spend time in for free. To make the most of the downtime, I brought my laptop outside and worked on a new post. With the sun blazing and temps hitting 85 degrees, I was drained by mid-afternoon. Is this satire? Bro, why did you send me this? God, okay, that 85 degrees is not hot. Jesus Christ. Even people here don't think that's hot. The only people who think 85 degrees is hot are Canadians, which, okay, they really normally don't experience those temperatures, and people who live up their own asshole. In other words, people from San Francisco. By 4:40 p.m., all I wanted to do was lie down in an air-conditioned room and take a nap. Bro, let your body acclimate. You're in fucking Hawaii. Go to the beach or something, man. No such luxury. I had to hop back in the car, drive through rush hour to pick up the kids. Oh, I bet that was fun. Rush hour here does suck. I will agree with that. Then endure another hour and 13 minutes back. My zest for life gone after 10 minutes of small talk with the kids. Turn on some music, just listen like a zombie. You have the energy to keep the conversation going. That might have been because you slept only 4.5 hours. You fucking just to show. You might have had more energy if you slept more than 4.5 hours. By the time I got home, I was just tired, slightly grumpy dad, wanting nothing more to kick back and crack open a cold beer. Positive thoughts that got on through. Commute would build their endurance and teach them the value of waking up early. Yes, waking up early is valuable. You should be a bit of a lark, but there's early and then there's 2:45. 2:45 isn't early. 2:45 is stupid. Perhaps most importantly, my wife appreciated the effort I put in to make her happy. During her FaceTime calls from the beach, she definitely seemed more relaxed and her content. Happy life, folks. Because God forbid she couldn't possibly get along with your own flesh and blood family. That's too much to ask. With appreciation, I was motivated to keep on super commuting. As a father, you do what you can to provide. This is not providing. This is stupidity. You're. This is how warped do you have to be to think this is doing what you need to provide? A little extra effort is more than a little. The plus some problem solving goes a long way to making a suboptimal situation better. Yes, because staying at your in-laws' house in a four-bedroom home in Honolulu on your summer vacation is a suboptimal situation. Yes, of course. Got to think positive. In the past, it never occurred to me that commuting from Laie to downtown Honolulu would be an option because that's stupid and you shouldn't be doing it. Besides, I knew it was temporary to make it tolerable. Kids had Friday off for the 4th of July, so only had to super commute for 4 days. Oh, this guy was out here like a few weeks ago. Damn, I wish I'd seen him so I could slap him upside the head and tell him, what the fuck are you doing with your money, my man? Hidden costs of supercommuting, in addition to hundreds more gas and transit costs each month. Lord. So see, he says supercommuting might seem like a reasonable trade-off. Save 20 to 60% on housing, spend an extra 2 hours, 30 minutes commuting a day. Maybe not so bad, especially if the median home price is above $1 million. Or you could maybe get a smaller house. I don't know. Crazy. Okay, there are some supercommuting situations that might make sense. For instance, if you work in New York, you could live in Philadelphia and take the train every day because then with a Wi-Fi equipped train, you could actually get work done on your way to and from work. That might make some sense, but that's not what you're doing here. You're driving a car. But increased risk of injury or death, higher stress and cortisol levels, wear and tear on your vehicle, getting chance of greater chance of getting tickets, reduced happiness and harmony with your significant other. Yes, those are all factors, and they all should have prevented you from doing this stupid experiment. This is another Mr. Money Mustache article. This guy would be well. It would be a good idea for him to review would be tiny details exaggeration syndrome because holy crap, we have a massive case of it here. If you plan to supercommute regularly, two things are imperative: a safe, reliable car and life insurance. No, life insurance is a scam. Ay, Dios mío. Wife and I have matching 20-year life insurance policies. You are a multimillionaire. My guy, if you die, you have enough money for all your offspring. Don't you're making your offspring, your children's lives way too easy. You're gonna turn them into a bunch of fucking Paris Hiltons and Donald Trumps. Ugh, kids need challenge to grow. Don't just pave over every obstacle in their life with the unlimited free money train. This is an ad for Policy Genius. Yeah, whatever. No. Here in Honolulu, we don't have what I'd consider a safe enough car for long-term supercommuting. We're using my dad's 1997 Toyota Avalon. That's a perfectly safe car. It's just not very efficient. It's a nostalgic beast. It's poor acceleration for evasive driving. You live in Hawaii. What's the fastest you're gonna go? A wobbly axle, shaky brakes above 45. Okay, yeah, you probably want to get the brakes fixed. No side curtain or rear airbags. You'll live. It's a skill issue. Just drive safer. No blind spot detectors. Are you incapable of driving safely? No sensors and no rear camera. Yes, it also has better visibility than almost any new car on the road. Not even sure the front airbags work. It's a Japanese car from the 90s. They probably do. As a result, I drive slowly and try to stay extra alert, as you should. What the fuck? One saving grace is the speed limits between the North Shore and Honolulu are relatively low, so it's not like mainland highways. Yes, again, that should mean your 97 Avalon is perfectly reasonable. It's why I can get away with driving a K-van here. Side note, I will eventually make a video on that. I know I've been saying I need to do that. It's just I've got so much on my plate. And I also, frankly, like going hiking on the weekends, which I went and hiked Mount Kaala finally on Saturday. Yeah, that's going to take precedence over making content. Sorry, guys. I got to live my life. We return to the same living and commuting arrangement again. I plan to rent a new car for $100 a day. It'll not only be safer, but it'll also free up my dad to run errands during the week with his own 28-year-old car. A win-win. Uh, okay, let's get through this. This is embarrassing. This is a smart financial move when housing near work is unaffordable. Look beyond the savings. Living in a smaller house or apartment to save time commuting is my preference. Correct. Why didn't you apply it here? Every hour on the road is not spent with your loved ones. Stressful drive takes a toll on your mood. Personally, a comparable home would need to be at least 70% cheaper to justify adding 2 hours of commuting each day. And even then, I'm not sure the trade off would be worth the toll on my time, energy, and well being. Time I get to spend with my kids after school is simply too precious to sacrifice. Good. Well, I'm glad you learned that this decision was fucking stupid. If you live within 15 minutes of both your work and your children's school, consider yourself fortunate. No, that's not good fortune. That's a choice you're making. You choose where you live. This isn't some communist country where thou shalt live here forever. You get to choose where you live. Remote work surged under a pandemic. In-person collaboration has made a strong comeback. It's not in-person collaboration. It's big corpos and middle-aged dick-sucking managers that just want to fucking exert their control over people because they don't understand that, oh, if I can't see you, you're not working. Fuck off. As a result, well-located homes in job-centric cities, especially where supply is constrained, may outperform in the future. Yeah, with urbanism, this is why if I was looking for real estate, I'd consider cities like Buffalo and Cleveland, especially as climate change makes water access a bigger and bigger priority. If you're going to super commute, have a plan, know your timeline, understand your reasons, and make sure the trade off is truly worth it, because in the end, a cheaper home isn't worth it if it leaves you drained and hating life. Or you could just cut your expenses elsewhere and not send your kids to Ivy League summer school. Don't send your kids to fucking Punahou if you don't want to live in Honolulu. Honestly, just don't send your kids to Punahou at all. Uh, uh, this guy, this guy gets some things right. Yeah, don't super commute unless there's some very, very specific situations where it makes sense. I've got a friend who lives in Stockton, commutes to his job in the Bay Area, but he does it on a train and he only does it 2 or 3 days a week and he can get work done on that train. That's a very specific scenario. That's where it might make sense. But if you're driving, hell no. Hell no, absolutely not. Not to mention, let's just take a moment and talk about the environmental impacts of all that driving. It's not good, right? You're adding to traffic. You are consuming a shit ton of oil that you shouldn't be. There's no reason you need to do that. But moreover to the point here is that guys like this and the fat fire movement in general is distorting reality for themselves. The entire context of this article is based around the idea that you wanted to send your kids to Punahou school in Hawaii in the summer and live there instead of living in wherever in San Francisco it was. Why did your kids need to go and do summer school? You do you dislike spending time with your kids to the extent that you're not willing to, I don't know, teach them for a summer? Or I don't know, let them spend time with their aunties and uncles and their grandparents? This is insanity. Kids do not need constant schooling. In fact, I think that's a terrible thing for them. Endless schooling it's a sign that you don't really love your children. You need to spend more time with them. And if you really cared about spending time with them, you wouldn't be sending them to school in summer 8 hours a fucking day, especially if you're on vacation anyway. This is ridiculous. This entire article is ridiculous. And from an environmental perspective, none of this is sustainable as well. Not that that's a huge priority, but we do only have one Earth, and especially when it comes to Hawaii, we got to really be careful about how we're consuming our resources. Any of this is not the way to do it. That right? If you're looking at the Fat Fire experience, reconsider what you really want to do with that money. You don't need this guy's kind of lifestyle. He spends probably something like between I don't even know, probably around $500,000 a year, some crazy number to support this lifestyle. And I don't think it would make him any happier than if he just, lived something a bit more normal and had less time commuting and, ferrying his kids. Like this was a completely optional exercise in pain. Thank you very much for sending me this article. It's almost satire and it gives me a very good perspective on what it gives me a perspective on how detached from reality a lot of really wealthy people are that the fat fire movement is. The nice thing is I subscribe to the lean fire movement a lot more. I would say my standards of living are still excessively high, too high, frankly. I still use way more resources than I should. But some of these people are, I would call this Delulu. Like, this is just insane to me. I cannot fathom the mind of a person who thinks that's the correct way to handle that entire situation. So, anyway, I would not. This guy needs to be taxed more. No, I'm kidding. I'm sure he's productive, but at the same time, man, yeah, this is the kind of thinking that makes people hate the rich. Because it's so detached from what any rational, normal person would think to do with their time. And it's just a waste of consumption, and it's all to give your kids an advantage they don't need, and frankly, one that's going to make them more maladjusted long term. All you're doing is doing more damage here. That's an exercise in futility. Anyway, that's all I got for y'all. Really, one of the more interesting articles I've ever been sent to read and do a video analysis on. So if you like this and you want me to review more articles, even if they're really stupid or written by stupid people, Sam's not a stupid person, but he's certainly a detached from reality one. Um, Go ahead, send it in to me. Askbullmuscle@gmail.com. You know where to go. This applies to anything, any other advice, fitness, personal finance, etc., etc. That'll be it for me tonight. I am going to go, I think I might go take a run or something in a little while. I did not lift today, so that's, I think, where I'm going to go with this evening. As always, y'all, make good decisions. Those good decisions form your actions. Maybe those decisions should include not spending 90 minutes to send your children to private school in the middle of the summer. Those good decisions form your actions. Those actions form your habits. Those habits form your values. Those values form an ethos can be the guide start through the rough waters of life. Much love, y'all. Come in for the hug. Shoots. Take care. Play me out.